The first public hearing on the Hill regarding the allegations of Trump-Russia collusion was truly an enlightening one. So many memorable quotes coming out of it.
Do we know who Gazprom Media is? Do you know anything about Gazprom, Director?
I don't.
Well, it's an oil company.
And there are no free lunches in Russia.
RT, the Russian U.S. anti-propaganda outlet.
Well, since we're now recognized as an anti-propaganda network, let us do just that. Fill you in on what the propaganda would not tell you. You may have heard at this hearing the name of Paul Manafort. It was mentioned quite a few times, courtesy of Congressman Himes, all in connection of one of the former members of Team Trump previously working for the campaign of the former Ukrainian president.
Paul Manafort. Now, Did Paul Manafort.
What you would not have heard is that Paul Manafort was by far not the only professional U.S. lobbyist strutting his stuff in Ukraine in 2010. Most of the candidates had American advisors, including Yanukovych's major rival, Yulia Tymoshenko, whose failed presidential run was advised by Obama's former chief strategist, David Axelrod. You would have also heard at that meeting the former National Security Advisor General Flynn should be investigated for a speech in Moscow 18 months ago, as one of the congressmen believes, for breaking the emoluments clause by making a paid speech in a foreign land. You would not have heard, though, that Flynn was not a government official at that time, not to mention he also reportedly lobbied for the Turkish government in those days. But more importantly, if you had dared to watch that hearing for 5 hours, you would have heard a little about the CrowdStrike affair, even though the shady cybersecurity firm was not even mentioned by name. But just as a few months ago, Comey again confirmed that the firm had the exclusive access to the reportedly hacked DNC servers, not even the FBI itself.
Direct access to the machines themselves. The DNC in the spring of 2016 hired a firm that ultimately shared with us their forensics from their review of the system.
You have still never been given access to any of the technical or the physical machines that were hacked by the Russians.
That's correct, although we got the forensics from the pros that they hired, which again, best practice is always to get access to the machines themselves, but this, my folks tell me, was an appropriate substitute.
What you would not have heard at the hearing regarding the CrowdStrike company is that it's run by Dmitry Alperovich, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council think tank, arguably the most hawkish one in D.C. when it comes to Russia. Or that his name surfaced back in 2008 when Russia was accused of cyber-attacking Georgia, as independent journalist Yasha Levin, who had investigated the alleged cyber war for many years, recently wrote that Alperovich was one of the minor online voices supporting the idea that the cyber attacks against Georgia were some kind of Russian plot. Back then, he was in charge of intelligence analysis at Secure Computing Corporation, a cybersecurity company that also made censorship tools used by countries like Saudi Arabia. The problem also is that this cyber invasion of Georgia has never been proven to be real. The recent CrowdStrike's investigation was also not mentioned, the one which said Russia hacked Ukraine's artillery systems, and that investigation was debunked by none other than Ukraine's defense ministry. That was also not mentioned at the meeting. All this evaded the attention of the Congress today, but the show now is firmly on the road, with more entertainment expected over the next couple of weeks. Alexey Yarosevshky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.